The African National Congress in KwaZulu-Natal is meeting today for a crucial stock take of its provincial leadership following its heavy electoral losses in last year's polls. And the party's Provincial General Council is currently underway, providing the ANC with a platform not only to assess its performance, but also to revisit key policies and resolutions from its last national conference, all in an effort to determine whether the organization is still effectively serving its communities. For more on this, let's now speak to Political Analyst Professor Sipho Seepe. Professor Seepe, thank you so much for being with us today. Welcome. So let's unpack the KZN leadership performance review. We are heading to the local government polls, and the recent announcement also by the former president, Kgalema Motlanthe, on the requirements as well as qualifications needed from their candidates has sure shaken some aspiring leaders within the party that might fail these requirements. What do you make of the current sitting that is taking place in KZN?
Well, the current sitting that is taking place takes place against the backdrop of the ANC having performed very poorly since its last Congress. One must remember that the NGC is a structure that has been put together by the ANC to assess progress it has made since its last Congress. So it is about reviewing that progress. It's also about assessing the challenges that it faces, and also to set strategic direction. And we know that the ANC has performed at the national level very poorly, but in KZN it had been so disastrous that you have a new leadership that is represented by IFP, the coalition government. So this meeting takes place at a time when the ANC can no longer claim to be a leader of government or a leader of society. And secondly, it takes place at a time when the leadership of the ANC at the national level is also being defined as a leadership of crisis. I mean, you have the leadership of the ANC this week being brought to the fore through the march of the EFF, raising the issue of and the specter of Phala, and indicating that it doesn't matter how the ANC at the national level tries to pretend and deny that there is a crisis, but that these ongoing commissions, court cases, do not augur well for the ANC. At the same time, we've also seen that these meetings are taking place at the time when some within the ANC are beginning to say maybe it's time for the national leadership to step down. Among those people who have raised their voice is the former president, Thabo Mbeki, who has actually told members of the ANC that they should stop being in denial. That when you have a party that loses 17% of the share of the vote in one electoral cycle, then you have a crisis. And Thabo Mbeki had not been saying he has not been as forward in stating this fact as he has done in the last few weeks. So effectively what you are having is the ANC that has its back against the wall. In addition to that, you've also seen some of the new players who seem to be eating out of the ANC. So the question that the ANC at the national level as well at the provincial levels is to ask, how can we reclaim the confidence that we had? And if you listen to the pronouncement by people on the ground, they do not see the ANC as an answer. And even the leaders of the ANC themselves have been they've been working against their own organization, setting, or what people call kicking the ball into their own net, what you call their own goals. When President Ramaphosa told members of the ANC who are at municipalities to say, when it comes to performance, the DA does it better than all of you, he was already somehow endorsing the DA as a better performer. The fact that he changed his mind and started talking about transformation did not take away the fact that the opposition parties have latched onto that. And Helen Zille has been the one to simply say, well, the president had said it. It doesn't matter what he says afterward. So you have a challenge that how do you begin at the provincial level and at the national level, create that sense of confidence that the ANC can still renew itself can still address the unfinished business of transformation.
And Professor, I'm glad you mentioned that reclaim process, because I'm sure you remember there was quite a furore after the dismal showing of the ANC within KwaZulu-Natal actually having lost KZN, right? And the provincial leadership was heavily blamed for the dismal party showing. So I suppose this should then fall also in line with the party's reconfiguration campaign within the province as they try to reset their political footprint. But Prof, I always wonder the likelihood of a political party regaining its support after voters stunned them at the polls, and we continue seeing disturbing developments relating to members of the very same party being associated with court appearances or corruption. How possible is their planned comeback, you think?
Well, what we know with the ANC is that once it loses, it has proven to be unable for it to recover. It lost Cape Town, if people can remember, as a city. It lost the province. And right now, it has even given up in that province. And you've seen the parties like the DA making almost inroads in the spaces that they used to be occupied by the ANC. We now see new coalition like Action SA doing better. So as we speak, members of the ANC, is not only KwaZulu-Natal that suffered a real better performance, that they went through a serious setback. You've also seen that in Gauteng. These are the provinces where the ANC was always guaranteed to win. But right now, they are even struggling. They are not even sure that come next elections at the local level, whether they will actually do better. So that is the context in which the discussions in the ANC are taking place, and the discussion at the provincial level. And KwaZulu-Natal is the most difficult one because the performance there was probably one of the worst.
And one wonders then, if you're rotating the same leadership and just merely, I suppose, just limiting their duties, it doesn't aid in this reconfiguration process there, Professor. And I suppose the people are basically crying out. The supporters of the party are crying out for new leadership that will be people-focused, right? So yes, this is a necessary step for all members, especially those in leadership positions, to be reviewed, because it's often there where the cookie crumbles, Professor. This is where corruption is rumored to begin, where positions are actually used for self-gain.
Well, you're quite correct on that one. And of course, it starts at the top. If the leader at the top is found wanting, if the leader at the top is also linked to people who are said to be corrupt, if the leader at the top is also known not to be telling the truth all the time, then it sends, or that the behavior percolates downwards. So for as long as you have Palapala standing and hanging over the leadership at the top, and the ANC being unable to deal with it, for as long as the recommendations of Zondo still remains, for as long as we continue to have these commissions that point negatively at the ANC in general and members of the ANC, because what you see here is the ANC dirty linen being washed in the public. You are not going to inspire people on the ground. It is we should not make a mistake to think that the behavior of the leaders at the national level does not affect the party's performance at the provincial level and at the local level. It is the face that you put there. If it is credible and it is associated with the integrity, then you have a possibility of people saying, we're going to vote for that party. But when you have a leadership that always makes promises and that seems to be comfortable with the PR exercises, people on the ground are not eating the PR exercises. People on the ground want change. And what we have seen, unemployment has become rife, corruption has become rampant, and there's been a lack of confidence in the institutions. And what we now have is also a suggestion that there's been infiltration in the criminal justice system by crime syndicates. And that simply sends a wrong message that the ANC is no longer in control.
Prof, I see your lights have gone out there. I'm going to leave it there with our interview. Thank you so much for engaging us on this very important topic there. That was political analyst Professor Sipho Seepe weighing in on the ANC in KZN, currently reviewing the performance of their leaders.